Welcome to all of our guests. It's good to have you with us, all of you. Welcome. Let's bow our heads just for a moment of prayer. Father God, I thank you for this opportunity to share, but help us to be your words, not mine. Your thoughts, not mine. I am a sinful servant, but thank you for all your many blessings. In Jesus' precious name, amen. Amen. I invite you today to go on a journey with me. A journey where God shows up at the most interesting times, the most interesting places, and in the most unusual, unexpected people. You've heard the phrase, well, it's not exactly brain surgery, is it? Well, exactly 1 year ago today, July 11, 2014, I was wheeled into a pre-op surgical room before surgery at the Virginia Sentara Hospital in Virginia Beach, Virginia. To backtrack a little bit, how did I get there? Well, I had some difficulty with my words. I conducted tours at the Whalehead House. I'm sure some of you know where it is. It's up in Kerala. And I conducted tours and heritage tours, which were history tours. And my words wouldn't come out. I'm thinking, what is wrong with me? What is going on? And I thought, maybe I just have a cold. And I would go from room to room leading this tour. And my words, my brain knew what I was supposed to say. It wouldn't come out. I remember there was one particular incident I was supposed to say. There was a very famous boxing match in the 1920s between Jack Dempsey and Gene Tunney. I couldn't think of one of their names. I'm thinking, am I going crazy? What is happening? And so I went from room to room to room, not being able to speak and having to go around it some other way. At the end of the tour, it calls for me to play the piano. And I thought, this is going to be the end of the tour. But am I going to be able to play the piano? Everything else wasn't working well. Well, I sat down, piano played, it went really well. I thought, thank you, Lord. Something works. So, it was over. I went to the doctor and I said, look, I'm getting fatigued. I'm getting tired a lot. I don't understand what's going on. I said, I'm a physical person. I love to bike. I love to go to the gym. I love to do things like go to the ocean. But the other day I went to the ocean and the only thing I could do was just sit in my beach chair. I didn't feel like doing anything. He said, oh, you probably have a virus or something like that. Take Mucinex. And he sent me on my way. Well, Mucinex didn't work. I went back again. He said, well, you probably have a virus. I'll give you a steroid. And he sent me on my way. Nothing worked. I came back for a third time. I said, look, I'm having problems with my speaking. The words don't come out on my tours. He said, well, that doesn't sound good. I said, yes, it does. It does. And he said, let's do an MRI. So, about 3 days later, I had this MRI. And the technician afterwards said, just sit here for just a few minutes. I need to check something out. A few minutes later, she came back and said, the doctor's on the phone. Well, now, how often do any of us hear from our doctor? I thought, well, this can't be good. So I went inside and talked to the doctor. He got right to the point. You have a mass the size of a golf ball in your speech area of your brain. You need to go to the hospital. I said, oh, well, my car's right up outside. I said, and I have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in my cooler, and I have my little badge on. I'm going to go to work after this, and I can do all this after, the day is over. He said, you don't understand. You're not going anywhere. You're going right to the emergency room, and then they're going to decide what they're going to do. Well, after a lot of talking and negotiation and so on and so forth, I was bussed by EMT with two EMT people accompanying me. And I thought, well, this is kind of neat. I'm in a hospital thing here, a vehicle, and we're going to go to Virginia Beach. And it was a 2.5-hour trip. I thought I have chauffeurs. This is wonderful. But I had this, I was kind of in La La Land in a way, and yet I thought, well, I'm going to get to know these EMTs. They're very interesting people, and I want to hear about their lives and what their goal is and that sort of thing. So we had a nice time on the way there. And we got to the emergency room in Virginia Beach at the Santa Hospital. And there were 3 or 4 gurneys who had come in like me. They were lined up like a traffic jam. And there was one EMT in front and one in back of each gurney. I was the second. So all of a sudden, we were now first. There was a lady, the intake lady, who was there, and she was doing all the paperwork and all of the telling people where they're supposed to go and move all these patients, etc. And she wheeled around in her chair and she said, "Who are you?" And they said, "We're from North Carolina, we have a patient." "Well, who's he?" And I said, "My name is Sheldon Metcalf." "What are you here for?" "Well, we don't know where we're supposed to go." Well, I had it. And that moment, I raised up on the gurney and I leaned over and I said, "Ma'am, did you eat nails for breakfast?" I have never seen anybody melt like the Wicked Witch in The Wizard of Oz. And she said, "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Oh, I hope you will have a good day and do well. And I'm just so sorry he's supposed to go to floor 2. Well, I thought at least she has a heart. I'm glad to see that, but I sure it wasn't much of a welcome at first, I can tell you that. So they directed me to the second floor. And I talked again I was having a good time talking to the EMTs. I said, I can walk. Well, they said, we don't want you to walk. I said, all right, I'll do what you tell me to do. Well, the double doors that open and they swing open and so on and so forth. You've probably seen a lot of hospital movies or those kinds of things on TV. Or maybe you've been through this kind of thing yourself. The doors open and there are windows on both sides. And on one window to the left, there were large letters and one word, and it said, oncology. And I thought, did somebody forget to tell me something here? So, I was wheeled through the doors and was stopped at a room. And there was a man standing in the doorway of the room. And he spoke to me. He said, "Hi, my name is Mark. Sheldon, I know you've had a tough day today. But I want you to know that we're going to do everything we possibly can to help you. I'm your nurse, and I'll be doing everything I can. Welcome." I thought, oh my, this hospital has a concierge. Isn't that wonderful? So, it's interesting, you know, he was no concierge. God had shown up, and I didn't even know it. I'm leaving out a lot because, you know, we can go through detail and detail and detail, but I'm trying to just hit the high spots here. There was pre-op where the nurse, you know, puts more stuff in you and all that in IV. And the nurse in the pre-op room said to me, "Do you have an advance directive?" I thought a minute. I thought, well, this may be serious. I said, "No, I don't. Do you want one?" I said, I would think so. Now, I had been, you know, I didn't have a will, I didn't have a last, nothing like that. I had thought about it for a long time, but I didn't do anything about it. You know, I thought, well, you know, we'll just do that some other time. And I thought a lot about it. This may be so serious that I might not get through it alive. I'd never thought about any of this sort of thing before. I really hadn't. And so I buzzed the nurse, you know, the little button, and did that. And so she came in, she said, are you all right? I said, "Look, I want to do an advance directive now." "Oh," she said, "okay. Well, we'll get the chaplain. We need to have 2 witnesses. We'll get them," and so on and so forth. So all these people came in, and I didn't have my contacts. And, you know, you go to the hospital, you don't have anything with you. And they take your keys, and they take your wallet, and they take your contact lenses. And, you know, none of this goes through surgery. So I am reading the advance directive like this, and so forth. Well, I did it. I had a designated person to put on this, and so on and so forth, and so she would be the one who would be taking care in case I conked out, or in case I was on a respirator. I don't want to be on a respirator and be kept alive like that. So I thought through all these things. Well, after the surgery, that morning, I couldn't talk. I couldn't speak. It was very frustrating. I spent 43 years teaching communication, theater, and speech to students and telling them how to speak. And here was me, who couldn't speak. So, the surgery was successful. 98% of the tumor was removed. But to let you know, if you don't know, tumors have 4 4 gradations, 4 grades in the brain. And each one is worse than the last one. There's grade 1, 2, 3, and 4. I had a grade 3, an astrocytoma. Grade 4s are called glioblastomas. Glio meaning global. In other words, they're all over the brain, or they can pop up all over the brain. That's what Teddy Kennedy died of, a glioblastoma. And when you hear of people, young children, 5 and 4, 22-year-olds, 24-year-olds, and you hear the phrases, they had inoperable brain tumors. That's probably what they had. I felt so fortunate. It wasn't luck. God should have. So, the next day, I could speak just a little bit and then couldn't speak at all again. Sometimes a little bit in the morning, and then when 1 o'clock hit, I couldn't speak at all. I thought, well, I'll text. And my texting was just as bad as my speaking. And I thought it was just perfect. Because my writing can't be wrong. It can't be bad. But it was horrendous. It was awful. I had an iPhone. I had pulled myself into the 21st century very reluctantly. I had a flip phone, and I didn't want anything to do with iPhones. I was so annoyed by students in my classes doing this and this and this and this and so forth. And I would say, look, I'm going to collect all your phones if you're not going to turn them off. And so I reluctantly, 3 weeks before going into the hospital, not knowing what was going to happen, I was ready to throw the phone after about a week of using it into the ocean because I was so annoyed with it. I finally learned, kind of a learning curve, kind of learned how to use it. I happened to put a Bible app on the phone. And I am so grateful because this was my Bible for 8 days in the hospital. For some reason, I kept hearing a text. And every night before I went to bed, I always read the Psalms. They were so encouraging and so comforting. I want you to turn to Psalm 46:10, if you would, please. Now, for now, I'm just going to read the first line, all right? Be still and know that I am God. For some reason, I kept seeing that in my mind, and I turned to it on my iPhone, and I looked at it, and I read the whole text, and I read the whole chapter, and I kept seeing it. And I felt God was telling me something. The Hebrew translation of be still is interestingly, stop! Enough! Acknowledge! It was almost like God was saying, shut up! Have you ever been through a situation that you had somebody talk to you? Could be in family, could be friends, could be colleagues at work, where they go on and on and on and on and on, and you just want to say, stop. Stop! Enough already! And you'd like to walk away, but a lot of times we're polite. We want to just be kind and let them just go on and on and on. I'm going to just digress for just a second here. I had a friend, wonderful friend, 15 years, and I had told her, I went through another thing, I had chemo, and chemo suppresses your immune system, so I got shingles on my face. About 2.5 months ago, I was in the hospital for that for a week. And I told her what had happened, and her reaction was, "Oh, that's awful! I'm so sorry! I had a friend who had that on her back, and it was painful, and she had it for months and months and months, and she couldn't get rid of it, and it was awful and blah." I thought, and you know, it's interesting. I said, "Stop! Stop!" I actually said that. Do you really think this is helpful to me right now when I'm trying to get over this? She got it. She got the message. "Oh, I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. You know, during this whole year for me, I had so many friends. Here, I was born and raised and spent all of my life in Maryland, most of it. And I had friends in Florida as well. Most all of them, 99% of them, knew how to speak to somebody who is healed. Remember Joe's 3 friends? They sat in silence for 7 days, and that's the nicest thing that they did until they opened their mouths. You know? There's a wonderful way of supporting people. Sheldon, I care about you. I want to pray for you. How can I help you? Can I send you something? Can I be there? What can I do? Well, it's interesting. So coming back to the journey, God showed up. He showed up in ways that I did not realize. I felt that God was saying to me, "Sheldon, I have listened to you for 68 years, and you seem to have a lot to say about everything. Right now, it's time for you to be still and know who I am, because I am God. I'm your God, and I have a lot to say to you." Let's read the rest of this. "First, be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." And then text 11. "The Lord Almighty is with us.
Amen.
The God of Jacob is our fortress." Pretty powerful stuff, you know? Know who I am. Sheldon, I know you. I know you very well. I've heard what you had to say. But now it's my opportunity to talk and for you to listen, because you can't speak. Well, you know, to me, that was an incredible lesson. It was a lesson in humility. It was because hospitals are not places where you assert yourself. You take orders and you do what they tell you to if you want to get out of there. I was there for 8 days. A wonderful friend from here came 2.5 hours to take me home. Those are the kind of friends I had. You know, it's interesting. God continues. He continues to show up for me, for you. I've had radiation that about wiped me out. I've had chemo, which I'm still taking, and take it for 1 year. And the tumor, where the tumor was, continues to shrink. I go to Duke, which is one of the best in the country and even in the world in terms of some of their most recent research. Some of you may have heard about it on 60 Minutes and CBS News. And they continue to treat it, they continue to watch it, and they continue to say, every time I go with the recent MRI, it's looking good, Sheldon. God shows up. I think God continues to show up for all of us. God showed up to you, Tomat, and April, and Isabella, when Isabella needed healing. God showed up. God showed up to you, Matthew, when you received God's calling to be baptized last week. God showed up to you, Dale, when you prayed for your children and helped your daughter go through a very difficult time. God showed up when you, Lyndon, prayed for God to help you find jobs here in the Outer Banks to pay for your college tuition. I am sure that God has shown up to every visitor we have, and you could probably name the times that he has shown up to you. I wonder if you turn to 2 Timothy 2:13. 2 Timothy 2:13. I'll read the whole thing from text 11. Here is a trustworthy saying. If we died with him, we will also live with him. If we endure, we will also reign with him. If we disown him, he will also disown us. And then 13, if we are faithless, he will remain faithful, for he cannot disown himself.
Amen.
That's an incredible. You know, it's really wonderful. You take a look at all those characters in the Bible where God showed up. He showed up to Samuel, and Samuel said, "Here am I." He showed up to Queen Esther, who had the strength and the courage from God to say, "I will go to the king, and if I perish, I perish." And God showed up and saved his people.
Amen.
He showed up to Samuel. He showed up to Joshua. He showed up to Elijah. He showed up to Rahab,
Amen.
the prostitute. Excuse me? Would we allow her in our church? She was under the direction of the Lord Jesus Christ. God showed up to her. God showed up I'm missing a word here. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Thank you. In a fiery furnace. He showed up to Daniel in the lion's den. He showed, and think of, in the flesh, he showed up to the apostles, to the Jews. He showed up to thousands. He showed up to Mary Magdalene, who was about to be stoned, and told her, "Where are your accusers?" And she said, "They are nowhere, sir." Then stand up and go and sin no more.
Amen.
God showed up. Remember the pool of Bethesda? The paralytic man? They thought it was healing waters, and he could never get in because of his paralysis. God showed up, and he healed him. God continues to show up time and time again.
Amen.
And he will show up to each one of us, even when we don't know it. Praise the Lord.
Amen.
Let's pray. Father God, we thank you so much. We thank you so very much for how you have shown up to us over and over, even when we don't know it. When we have not been faithful to you, you have still been faithful to us, watching, waiting for us to come to you. Thank you, Lord, for your blessings, your love, your enduring endurance that you've had with us. Thank you for listening to us, and help us to be still and know